Read a slightly dated article by Shweta Bachchan on her father Amitabh Bachchan. Towards the end of this article, Shweta lists reasons as to what makes Amitabh Bachchan cool. The last reason in that list is because he's full of childlike wonderment, even though he has seen it and done it all. Amitabh Bachchan turned 74 on this 11th October 2016 and is still idolized across generations. None of the actors or actresses of his generation or actors and actresses from later generations have been able to do so. Obviously, this has nothing got to do with acting, because had it been so, then there were lots of them who were much better actors than him. There is something more. I believe that something more is what Shweta Bachchan summed up in her last statement: childlike wonderment. This article made me start thinking about this thing called as curiosity or childlike wonderment. What is curiosity? What determines it? Why some people have more curiosity and some have less? Why children are more curious generally? Or for that matter, in first place, why does curiosity exist? Is curiosity good always? Etc. 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 Armed with the power of Google, I started exploring and came across with some very interesting research done over time. Here, I'll share one such research with you, titled The Pandora Effect: The Power and Peril of Curiosity by Bowen Ruan and Christopher K. In an experiment performed by these researchers, three types of pens were used. Red pens gave electric shock when clicked. Green pens gave no electric shock when clicked. And yellow pens may or may not give electric shock when clicked. The findings were quite interesting. On an average, those who did not know what the outcome would be clicked about 5 pens, while those who knew the outcome clicked about 1 green pen and 2 red pens. In another similar experiment, the participants were given a choice to click 3 kinds of button on a computer display. Buttons of type 1 that will produce good sound, buttons of type 2 that will produce painful sound, and buttons of type 3 which can either produce good or bad sound with equal probability. The results were again similar. People clicked more when outcomes were uncertain. Not only this, the researchers also found that those who clicked more felt worse or less happy afterwards. Now, this is interesting. What the research shows is that when the outcome is uncertain, people tend to act more or click more. This is probably to reduce the uncertainty. But in the process of acting more, we end up feeling more miserable. These findings made me think and apply it to parents around me. Honestly, as a parent, all this applies to me also. All parents love their kids, and this applies across generations, across countries, across religions. Now, because parents love their kids so much, they are continuously thinking about ways to better equip their kids for the future. Unfortunately, no one can predict future. It is uncertain. And because it is uncertain, like the research participants try clicking more and more, parents act more and more. They Google more. They talk to more people. They send their kids to multiple classes. They meet the so-called specialists more and more. They make kids read lots of books. They take kids to various new places so that they can find and learn new things. Some cases, parents even go to the extremes of going to astrologers. In short, they push their kids more and more. What's the end result? Just like the research participants, they are worse off. That's why probably you see so many overworked parents, tired parents, exhausted parents. Parenting is no longer a process of reliving one's old childhood with one's kids. It's become a task to be performed with defined targets. I remember hearing a very interesting TED talk given by Julie Lithcott on how to raise successful kids without overparenting. In it, she uses an interesting term, checklisted childhood. That is, a childhood spent on meeting targets. Julie also says in the same talk, and let me, read out what she says. Quote, what I am saying is, our kids need us to be little less obsessed with grades and scores and a whole lot more interested in childhood, providing a foundation for this success built on things like love and course. Did I just say course? Did I just say course? I really did. But really, here's why. The longest longitudinal study of humans ever conducted is called the Harvard Grant Study. It found that professional success in life, which is what we want for our kids, that professional success in life, having done course as a kid, and the earlier you started, the better. That a roll up your sleeves and a pitch in mindset, a mindset that says there's some unpleasant work, someone got to do it, it might as well be me. A mindset that says I'll continue my effort to the betterment of the whole. That's what gets you ahead in the workplace. Now you all know this. You know this. We all know this. And yet, in the checklisted childhood, we absolve our kids of doing the work of course around the house. And then they end up as young adults in the workplace, still waiting for a checklist. But it doesn't exist. And more importantly, lacking the impulse, the instinct to roll up their sleeves and pitch in and look around and wonder, how can I be useful to my colleagues? How can I anticipate a few steps ahead of what my boss might need? Unquote. This is what I want to ask to parents, including myself. Why are we so paranoid about our kids? Why can't we just let our kids be kids? Why can't kids just simply play, eat, sleep, and play again? Why should they do so many classes? Why should every action of theirs be analyzed in so much detail? In short, why should we click more or act more when there is uncertainty? Look around you. Look at people who are successful. After all, that's what we are trying to do, make our kids successful in future. And let's see for ourselves, if the so-called successful people, had they done in their childhood what we are making our kids do? And yeah, I've heard answer to this question many times before. There is more competition now. Really? Let me give you an example. 20 years back, there were probably around 2,500 seats at Indian Institutes of Technologies or IITs, and around 2 lakh students would have taken the IIT's famed joint entrance exam. Cut 2016, CBSE got around 12 lakh applications, and IITs today have 10,000 seats. Has the strength of competition really changed? Nothing has changed as far as competition in any field is concerned. And even if you believe it has changed much lesser than what you perceive. But what has definitely changed is parents' paranoia because marketers are bombarding them with information and exploiting their weak points. There's something called as clickbait in marketing. Do you see sensational headlines in media every day? Why do they do that? Simply to exploit your curiosity and get a media mileage out of it. All marketers know how to exploit our vulnerability by playing on a click or act habit when there is uncertainty. Recall the Three Idiots movie. Towards the end, when Raju goes for an interview and is asked as to why his grades are consistently poor. And what does he say? Quote, due to fear, I was a bright student. Since childhood, parents thought that I will abolish their poverty. I started to fear. When I came here, I saw that there is a race. If you don't come first, no one will recognize you. I started to fear even more. Fear is not good for grades, sir. I started wearing more rings, praying more. Not only praying, I started begging to God to give me this, give me that. Sir, today I haven't told God that you get me this job. I just folded my hands and said thank you for this life. If you guys even reject me today, then I don't have any regrets because I believe I will somehow do something worthy with my life, sir. Unquote. We need to get out of this fear of failure and start trusting ourselves. Let's understand one thing: more is not equal to good, just like clicking more is not equal to happiness. Let's keep it simple. Let kids have fun. Let them play lots of games. And I mean physical games, not the computer games. Let them ask more questions and remain curious. Let them live their childhood and do lots of daily chores. And then see for yourself that your kids will have the confidence to face life when they grow up. Like Raju, they will also say, I believe I will do something worthy with my life, mom and dad. Let's remember, parent is only of a mentor and not a selector. Or as Julie says with respect to her own kids, my job is not to make them become what I would have them become, but to support them in becoming their glorious selves. Let's vow to give our kids a happy, curious childhood. Cheers to a happy and fun filled parenting. Before I sign off, let me say one thing. Though I've shared my view with respect to overparenting, honestly, I have not been able to define what is overparenting precisely. So, for example, is making kids go to 5 classes overparenting or making them go to 2 classes overparenting? Is making kids study for 3 hours every day on topics we think are important overparenting? Or making them study 1 hour every day on topics we think are important is overparenting? To put it simply, I don't know where does no parenting stop and normal parenting starts, and where does normal parenting stop and overparenting starts. I'd be happy to hear views of all of you with respect to what do you think in your views is overparenting and how do you avoid it. Please share this audio if you like it, and I would be also happy to hear your views. Thank you.